again, a quick reminder, we are live, so your tweets will be included as they come in. You can contact me on my Twitter handle, which is Faisal Qureshi. Today's topic is nature of the crisis. I really wanted to call it nature of the beast, but I thought that might be a bit rude. Although, when you say nature of the beast, it's an adage which really defines how something progresses in its own life cycle. That's the nature of the beast. You can't change it. But Pakistan's election is taking a beastly turn, and it is a crisis. Why I call it a crisis? Because of the terrorist attacks, because of the old politics. Now, the terrorist attacks, yesterday on our show we talked about in great detail, is the price Pakistan is paying of the war on terror. And I want to repeat it as much as I can. I will keep repeating it. The world has to realize the extremely high price Pakistan is paying in this war on terror. The price of our solidarity, the price of our economy, the price of our progress, the price of our growth, the price of our lives, of our youth, of our future. Pakistan is suffering tremendously, and the world should at least appreciate that. We feel the pain that the world is suffering on this war on terror, but we expect the world to understand the pain that we are suffering. That is all we ask for. So, nature of the crisis, as politics takes new turns, my personal problem, in 2013, we're seeing the same old politics. When I was getting ready to come to the studio earlier, I had this thought, why are our politicians today accusing each other of what they've done wrong? Why don't they just say, this is what I've done right, and this is what I will do right, categorically, objectively, and that's it, and then let the people decide? Why do they have to accuse each other? Maybe because that's the stronger point. No offense meant to anyone. I will open the topic for my guests. On my right, a great honor, a privilege to have a veteran journalist, an analyst, a commentator, and a veteran PTV anchor, Mr. Ghazi Salahuddin. So thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
It's an honor. Thank you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Very kind. On my left, from Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, a great friend, Mr. Firdaus Naqvi. Firdaus, thank you very much for being here. On telephone, another very good friend of mine, representing Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Group, is Maiza Hamid. Maiza, how are you? Can you hear me? Maiza, can you hear me? Maiza, can you hear me? We'll fix that in just 1 second. And we have AVM retired Abid Rao on the phone. He is also an independent analyst. Abid, thank you very much. Can you hear me, Abid?
I can.
Great. We'll try to get Maiza back online. Maiza, I'm going to start with you. Nature of the crisis. Where do we stand? How should we move forward? What do we expect in the next 2.5, 3 weeks?
I think the crisis essentially is that we are not aware of the crisis.
Beautifully said.
Because the crisis is not political, I think. It's not economic. It is moral and intellectual. The problem with us is that we are so obsessed with politics that we do not look at the state of the society, at what is happening to us. What are the issues? You talked about war and terror and what's happening to us in terms of terrorism. Why? Why couldn't we stop the Taliban from gaining the strength that they have? Why couldn't we stop the militants from becoming so strong? Why wasn't Lal Masjid seen before you had to go and attack it? We do not have sufficient space in this country to discuss these issues, and we do not have an environment in which a rational debate is possible.
And that too we have created
and
ourselves.
That we have created ourselves. We have allowed these militants, all these things. We don't know what is the sense of direction. We are confused. In fact, it's a situation of double think. Orwell said, and what is double think? The capacity to accept two beliefs that are opposite to each other simultaneously. So, we are in a state of double think.
Which also brings quadruple jeopardy.
Jeopardy, yes. there it is.
Thing brings quadruple jeopardy. Maiza, can you hear me now? Maza, are you there?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Could you please increase Maza's volume? I can't hear you very well. Firdaus, I think Mr. Salahuddin has said it very well, that we are actually confused as to what we want. And I'm going to make this discussion political now. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, a lot of people say, is really not sure where the problem is, who to attack, who is the real enemy, and maybe they're not picking up the fights too well.
No, I think Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is very much clear about that. There is no issue. Whatever we have suffered and where we are today, at least one thing is clear, that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is not responsible for it because it's not been at the helm of affairs.
Fair point.
So it is not giving the direction. So whatever has transpired in the history of Pakistan, the blame lies on some other doorsteps rather than Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf.
No, but Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has individuals who have been part of the...
No. The issue which we look at is that, yes, there are individuals who have been part of the establishment. Obviously, it's not that we are going to have people who are just born who will come and run politics. There is people whom you have to select. But as is very obvious from the tickets which we have awarded, we have been very cautious about it. The percentages are like this, that 80% of the people who are contesting from the PTI platform are first-time contestants. We have given 35% of the tickets to people under the age of 40 to bring about new leadership. At the provincial level, it's even higher because this is the national average I'm talking about. But the question which remains, is the crisis real or not? Yes, the crisis is real. And the sense of direction is confused. Where is the confusion coming from? It's coming from the spin which we give. It's a nation which thinks that building Danish school is solving the problem of education in this country, while we're not looking at the fact that more than 55% of the people who should be enrolled in primary school are not being enrolled in the school. We're talking more about that they need to have education which is equivalent to HSM college. Or we're talking about giving laptops to people when we cannot give basic books to the people, when there is no electricity. There are no toilet facilities in our schools, and we feel justified. We feel justified that we can spend the whole budget of Punjab, development budget, on a 27-kilometer road and say we have done a project which is worthwhile. Where are our priorities? Where has the confusion come from? Complete.
Okay.
One last sentence.
All right.
Where has the confusion coming from? Which judges can sanctify a military dictator taking over 4 times and say that under the doctrine of necessity it is allowed, everything under the sun can be justified.
Okay. The reason I said maybe, because a lot of people have questioned that all the examples you gave were of Punjab, targeted towards PMLN. All the examples of supposed failure.
Talk about PPP, they're so bad that everyone knows about it. It is the people who are giving this. So obviously, the lowest growth rate this country has known over its history, 2.5%, never before in the history. Should I talk about that? Should I talk about the loans which we have taken? Should we talk about the number of the junket trips which this government does? Should we talk about the 5 crore rupees which can go into a personal account and the person would not know? Should I talk about the Agra person who can run away with the money of the state? Should I talk about the NLC guy who was a matriculator and was appointed, NIC guy who was appointed? How many examples? The media has been crucifying PTP. So why should I do? I have to expose those who are trying to give a spin which is not right. So and that's to attack PPP is not my job. That is the job of PMLN. They should do it.
Today?
Even today and yesterday. They were the opposition.
But today,
now
it's an open forum election.
Sorry?
Now it's an open forum election, free for all.
Yes, but it's a very simple logic.
Let me take my comments. I'll come back.
One sentence and then you can hand it over to her. Who is the number 1 party claiming to be the largest party in the country? Pakistan People's Party. Seats-wise, vote-wise, both. Who is the second largest party? Who wants to come to power? PMLN. Logically, who should they attack? We should attack. We said, let them attack them. We'll attack
So
PMLN.
you do accept that they are in the second largest party.
Well, I said they claim. I
They
said
claim.
even PPP. Just my words I've chosen is with a lot of caution.
Okay. Maiza, what would you comment on this?
First of all, I'd just like to say that we all have to acknowledge what you said at the start, that I think that as politicians and as part of this country, as part of more than anything else, the people of this country, we really do have to rise above the mudslinging, and we have to rise above our differences, all the political parties, and take a united front on terrorism. That's a given. But other than that, I think that as far as PTI is concerned, they have an easier job than anybody else here because they're a new party. They don't have a history. They don't have years of good things that they've done and mistakes even that they've made. So they find it very easy to categorize PMLN, PPP, all the old parties and say that, let's look back and say, okay, this is what they've done wrong and this is what they've done right. But saying that, this is a country that believes in Danish schools and giving laptops, and that's the reason for all the problems that we have, is a little too much, because I think that what Danish schools have accomplished in southern Punjab, for example, is something that one really has to go and see. We have to go and see what they've done for that area and those people, and how much access to education that these schools have actually given those people.
Maiza, I think Firdausa's comment was that the priority was wrong, correct?
I am not against Danish School. I am not against Metrobus. These are all good projects. But the priority is totally
All right,
wrong.
Maiza, please.
With 55% of the students not
Okay,
in private
please,
schools.
Maiza, go on.
Yes, what I'm saying is that, like today, when we look back, it's very easy for us to say that maybe the priority was wrong. But for people of that area, especially let's talk about Rahimia Khan, for example, people of that area have benefited monumentally from Danish schools. And this is something, and we have worked, PMLN has worked within the budget that it had to do the best it could in the circumstances that it had.
Sure.
Maiza, I just want you to...
Firdausa, the question.
Please, if you allow me, just a question.
You just let me say
How
one
many-
thing.
Can we let her finish?
You complete.
Please, Maiza, go ahead, Maiza, complete.
I'm saying that, it's easy for PTI to say that, look, well, PGP is very, 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 very terrible and very bad. So PMLN, well, their priorities were wrong. But they have to see that we have acted like a constructive opposition. We did not take ministries at a time when we were offered, we could have taken our share of the government. But we chose to sit back. We chose to do what we could in the circumstances that we had. And I think that we should all agree that what you started off with, terrorism was and is a huge, huge problem in our country. And for any government, which a PTR, for example, or PPP, or a combination of politicians may come up tomorrow, but that is still going to be a huge problem. Danish schools or not, Metrobus or not, giving laptops or not. So we all need to be united for us to tackle that area. So
Okay,
let's
I want to go to Abid, and you please hold your question just for a moment.
You lose the sequence if you allow.
Okay, please go ahead. Abid, my apologies, just hang on with me for a
I
second.
think so.
Go
There's
on.
something very famous which
Please.
was attributed, I think so, and Rajshah, please correct me, to Queen Victoria. When the question that people do not have bread, so she said, why don't you eat cakes? It's
French
The
Revolution.
French
French
Revolution.
Sorry, I thought I
Yes.
should be corrected.
Yes.
Anyway, why don't people
Yes.
eat cake?
Sure.
That's exactly what I've heard
But
right
it was
now
also
about
said
the
in
Danish
Pakistan
school.
recently.
My only question to Maiza is that if you can satisfy me to this, that all the girls in southern Punjab today are enrolled in primary school, then I would say Danish schools are right. If you can say that the boys have also enrolled in the primary school and we are moving towards 100% literacy, then Danish schools are right. If you can tell me that people have access to clean drinking water, then the Metrobus project is right. If you can tell me that there is no power shortage in the country and the industry is doing very well in Faisalabad and there are no such problems, so unemployment is at its lowest, then the Metrobus project is justified and it is a very good project. But if you can't give an answer like that, then I'm sorry you are wrong.
Okay, I'm not going to take Maiza's answer. I want to open this to Abid and Mr. Salahuddin as independent analysts. Abid, I'd like to hear your piece first on this discussion.
Actually, I was very pleased to hear Ghazi Salahuddin Saab's remarks. I agree 100% with him on identifying the crisis. You see, People's Party, their government has failed democracy. In the name of democracy, whatever they have done is poor governance to the worst form that this country has ever seen. Sindh had no government. I mean, you look at education, you look at law and order, you look at power crisis, you look at anything you say like that. Mr. Nawaz Sharif, of course, this time he was not the Prime Minister, but Shahbaz Sharif, this was his third tenure. They are showmen people. They want cheap publicity from everything that they do. They want Danish School as a publicity stunt. Metro is a publicity stunt. I will give them the credit for whatever they have done. That's fine. This is a nice thing to have done. But their priorities are not outside Lahore. In the previous two tenures, he was the Prime Minister of Model Town and he was the Chief Minister of Model Town. Nothing happened beyond that. He was called, other provinces called him Prime Minister of Punjab. Punjab called him Prime Minister of Lahore. Lahore called him Prime Minister of Model Town. So this is exactly what they have done now. There is nothing new in their, policies or approach, or even in the criticism that they, offer to People's Party government. This time, these Danish schools and laptops. 3 years back, one student topped an exam, and Mr. Shahbaz Sharif called him to CM House, gave him guard of honor, gave him 30 lakh rupees. They don't believe in making systems. They believe in, such individual items, and therefore the publicity behind that. These students were called, why don't you make a system that every time a student tops a metric, FA, FSC, BA, BSc, he'll be given rupees 3 million. So that incentives are given for children to work hard and all that. Then so many things that Mr. Naqvi has said. Then another angle that I personally object to in most of these parties is that after Mr. Nawaz Sharif, it is Shahbaz, then Hamza, then Maryam, then even that Captain Safdar. He is our national leader. How can you join a party where the leadership is decided for next 200 years and they call themselves democratic parties? I fail to understand that. And their obsession with PTI is beyond reason.
But Abid, on that one, I'll have to comment. The obsession is, it takes two to do it. I think both are tangoing very well on that one. They're both obsessed with each other.
It is not a healthy thing. This is what I'm saying.
PTI is also
an established party like PMLN to listen to what Mr. Hassan Nisar has said today in his public meeting.
Okay.
It is, let me say, it is shameful.
Okay, let me take Mr. Salahuddin's comments. Please.
Well, I am very disappointed because I thought when I initiated the discussion and said that the crisis is more intellectual and moral than political. And then again, we are chewing the cud of politics. The point here is PTI, PMLN, People's Party, how do they look at the country? How do they decipher the problems of this country? Do they understand what is happening? Not blaming each other, not point scoring. And the crisis really here is that the situation in Pakistan is not being studied properly, objectively, not being understood by any of the parties. All
they're too busy dissecting each other.
Yes, and they're playing to the gallery, and double think, always double think. This is a country that is supposed to be an Islamic country, a religious country, and look at the state of the country.
At every level.
Every level. Corruption, dishonesty. How many countries do you have where they will adulterate food items? Look at what is happening on the ground level, and look at our ideals, look at what we profess. 82%, there was a Gallup survey, 82% of males said that they go to the mosque once every week. Okay, very good. But what is the morality of the society as such? And where do they go?
Or the civic order.
Or civic order. So, and we do not have think tanks in this country. We do not have the environment on campuses where people could debate, people could try.
We don't even have
study.
shadow cabinets.
We don't have
I'm
shadow
shocked at that.
cabinets. We don't have shadow cabinets. We don't know what is democracy. We don't know what is a Islamic state. We have no models to follow.
So given the state that you've described, I fully agree with you. But given that election, we've got political parties rooting, politicking, selling, promising. Are we looking for a hopeful turn in 3 weeks, or it's just...
Tell me, if you look at the state of the society, how can it change with the election?
But PTI says it can.
It cannot.
PTI says they come into power in 90 days, it's all done. Figuratively speaking.
Let's talk about it. The issue. Ghazi Saab is very right in what he is observing. But on certain areas, you see what happens is that during a discourse, which happens on a TV talk show, you do not get a chance to hear the debate which goes on within the party when it's formulating its policies. Therefore, when you come to a judgment on these things, I think so, that's not really the view. And I fully agree with you that there are no think tanks, there are no debating forums where people could come out and express the whole thinking behind it. But we have tried to do it in various different
No, but
forms.
how do you explain your stance that you will not reduce the defense budget? This is what Imran Khan said, that the defense budget cannot be reduced. And yes. And at the same time, you want Pakistan to be a welfare state. So national security state and welfare state are contradictions.
You see, no, let me try to explain to you. You see, what we are saying, what is the paradigm shift we are talking about is that if we are able to increase our tax to GDP ratio from 8.5, which it is currently, and take it to 15, then if the defense budget remains the same, you have additional fiscal space about 6%.
You're talking about increasing the size of the pie.
Yes.
No, but
So,
conceptually, a national security state is different than a social
look,
welfare state.
how can you, in the circumstances which we are stuck with, talk about reducing defense expenditure when you have foreign powers interfering in many areas internally in your country, and you have an external threat which has been consistently there, unless and until we make up diplomatic moves to solve our regional crisis in that area. Because the Afghan government, with the Indians on the other side, and whatever is happening in Balochistan, the insurgency happening there, the whole issue requires, plus in addition to that, the internal law and order situation which is happening. This country, armed forces have lost more than 8,000 people just fighting the war on terror, and it has suffered civilian casualties of 40,000. With this state of affairs, you need to, and the police force and the rangers as they are, their state, I don't want to get into it because
we need to work deep on security, understand? I need to take a very short break. I like Maiza's comments when we come back. My question is that if we, supposing, as Abid said, there's a lot of showmanship on the PMLN side, I could accuse a lot of showmanship on PTI side as well, because the statements and the promises, they basically fodder for the masses. It's natural.
I will deny that.
Absolutely, you'll get your chance. But a lot of that, the corruption gone in 90 days, 5 years, there's a lot of showmanship. But if we look beyond the showmanship, which is a part of politicking, I think everyone really has the same dilemmas, same challenges. The security you mentioned, it's a challenge for People's Party and PMLN and Jamaat Islami or ANP
I would
as
like
well.
to get back to you whenever you go for your
Let's
break.
just take a short break because Dos wants to go right into it. But we'll start with Maiza's comments. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Perspectives. Like I said before I go to Maiza for those comments, I have a quick question from Mr. Naqi Imam, who says, ask Ghazi Saab about the current political wave And will the bat be able to beat the lion across Pakistan? What's your expert comment?
Well, one, I don't want to forecast the results of the election. Two, I don't think that is very relevant or as important as the sense of direction of Pakistan. Any party, yes. We have to first understand what is happening to us, try and understand the options that we have, and try and see if we can have a new Pakistan. Any party that comes will have to come with this kind of homework and knowledge. I don't see any party having done that.
No homework and no knowledge. Mirza, you've had all the time in the world with being in the government for not just this term, even terms before that. Mr. Salahuddin says you haven't done your homework. You also haven't done your homework and don't have a plan. One. Secondly, what I had asked earlier, beyond the showmanship, do you think there's a collective, or may I say, is there synergy where your working ideas are the same with PTI and even People's Party, or not?
Faisal, I think that there should ideally be a synergy between all the parties. If we want, like he said, if we want to set the right sense of direction with the challenges that the country has at this moment. But I think that at the same time, I think that PTI and its tall claims are a tad unrealistic, especially like you said, the 90 days they're going to eradicate corruption, and the fact that they're bringing a lot of youngsters in, and they say that they've gotten the elections within their party and all of that halabaloo, which according to them is not showmanship, but I think that is also showmanship. And as far as saying that, I haven't done my homework, well, maybe, but I think that coming from Southern Punjab, his assertion that, if every youngster is going to Danish schools, then he'd be satisfied. Well, I think a lot of improvement has been made in that area. And for anybody to say,
the girls are going
please
to
let me just finish. I think for anybody to say,
I didn't talk about Danish schools.
Okay, please, Mirza, go on.
yes, I'm saying that, granted that every child or every girl is not going there, or every youngster is not going there, but at the same time, it would be wrong to deny the kind of improvement. And as far as water is concerned, a lot of water purification plants have been set up in that area.
9,600 students
Let her conclude.
in a population of more than 10 crore.
Let her conclude. Go on, Mirza, please.
Hello?
Please go on.
I'm also on the phone, so it's a little...
No, I understand. Please go on.
They are making campaign
and,
speeches.
at the same time, saying, denying the improvement that PMLN has made, denying the work that we've actually accomplished, considering the circumstances we were in, I think, is a little unfair. And also, as far as their, PTI is saying that we're, again, like they said, unrealistic to say that in 90 days we'll eradicate corruption, and the youngsters that they're bringing in, we don't know. Why is it important? Like you said, I agree with you. Why is it important to have youngsters? Because their young, age is a factor. Is it more important to have competent people? We need to have competent people do education. We need to have competent people tackle commerce. We need to have, like you said, industry is a big issue in this country. And whoever comes in
on the
next,
flip side, they say it's important to bring young people new leadership. I'm sorry, but your party
Yes,
and
I
other
agree,
old political parties have been very proud of bringing criminals and people who spent jail time. That was your great achievement. Oh, I've spent so many years in jail. The nation doesn't really want you to be in jail. We want competent people from everyone.
Saying that somebody spent a lot of time in jail for principles is something that shows that they're good political leaders. That's a different thing.
Mirza, with due and very humble respect, I have to say this because I'm saying very apologetically because people don't take this lightly in this country. But the fact is, today's generation doesn't care what your principles were, doesn't care why you went to jail, what happened. They only care about whether they're going to deliver or not.
Yes, you're right.
The people who are
You're
18,
right.
19, 20 years old don't understand
You're
what happened in the 70s or 80s. They
But
just care about, do we have a job? Can I
You're
get out
right.
of my house safely
You're
or
right.
not?
But my point is for us to have people who have a job, for us to have youngsters who have a job, for us to have education, for us to have electricity, we need time and we need to set realistic goals. We can't wake up and say that, tomorrow whoever comes into power, whether it's PTI or PPP again or PMLN, we can't be unrealistic enough to say that, we're going to all snap our fingers and the problems are going to disappear for anyone. Because they're all there and they're in our face. So we need to just set our priorities right, we need to set our goals and we need to go after them with the challenges that we have. And they're not going to disappear just because, if like they're saying, PCI comes into power. That may or may not happen.
Okay.
PMLN
All right.
may come.
Abid, do you think PTI's promises are showmanship? Are they claims, tall claims as Maisel says? Or you think there's realism in there beyond the promises that every election, even caretaker governments of the past have promised some strange things? Are these just promises, or can the nation really expect magic within X number of days, not weeks, months, but days of a PTI government?
Yes. Let me first say that, this is the pre-election period and all these parties will go for big slogans which will catch the eyes and ears and attention of all people who are going to vote.
Sure.
But then you have to compare these parties who all have delivered and who are new people who have a history. I mean, you have to look at the leadership of the party first. That have they delivered something to the nation in terms of honor, in terms of some achievement, in which Mr. Imran Khan stands taller than all these people who, let me say, use the word, they look pygmies in front of him. You asked a question about reducing the defense. Yes, he needs to be given a chance. We don't want to try those people who have already been tried and failed this country. Now, let me tell you about defense budget. Defense budget is a resultant of something, and that something is your relationship with your neighboring countries. If they improve to a limit, then you can go for reduction limit. At this time, if he promises you, you have to believe it with pinch of salt, that maybe he can, maybe he cannot do it at the end. And the good thing is, all these parties, including People's Party, Noon League, and other parties, they are talking of good relations with the neighboring countries. In Pakistan, fortunately, all our political parties have matured, and they don't use "Hate India" slogan in their electioneering campaign. That is a very positive thing that has happened. All have a bigger problem on the Western Front with Afghanistan and with the forces that are interfering in Balochistan. So therefore, if the things improve, if they can control that, there will be definitely some reduction. And second thing which Mr. Naqvi said, if you increase your tax base, defense budget may not have to be reduced. You can improve the quality of your defense.
Okay, Ghazi Sahab, I want you to comment on one thing. Abid said rather strongly that everybody else like a pygmy. If Imran Khan stands really tall.
The only advantage he has over others that he has not been tried. That's the only.
But does that make him a standing tall giant?
Let me try to add something to that.
I'll come to you completely.
In terms of leadership qualities, we don't know, because this is not
in terms of management qualities.
Very credible,
fantastic manager.
Very credible. But let's see, politics is a different game.
Statesmanship is a completely different animal.
Absolutely, the nature of the beast.
Statesmanship, foreign relations, the whole game of
understanding history, understanding issues. That's what I said. If you turn the table and look at it from the point of view of the people who have to vote, how will they decide which party to vote without knowing the issues, without understanding the problems of Pakistan, without knowing Pakistan? And that is what I meant when I say it is an intellectual crisis, because you have opinions all around.
Damn a dozen.
Where do they come from?
That's an interesting point you're making. When you make promises of, call it roti ka pramakan,
How do people assess these
call it
promises?
90 days of corruption, call it PMLN's promises. Everybody makes talk from, but nobody ever questions, hang on, how?
How?
We'll educate the country, how?
And do they know the facts about Pakistan?
So given that criteria,
I think the media has failed in raising these issues, in educating the people on what Pakistan is, what its problems
very well,
is,
sir.
what is the nature of the crisis.
Media has spent a huge amount of time arguing, politicking, and showmanship.
On the surface of things.
No education.
No education.
Quickly, because I know Firdaus is going to strangle me if I don't come to
Yes.
in about a second. Still, given that these criteria, do you still think one leader stands taller than the other? Or when you talk about statesmanship, politics, manipulation, dealing with the world, foreign relations, old politicians have a better weight?
Well, in this country, all politicians have a secret desire to become another Bhutto.
The charisma, the magic.
The charisma, the magic. And what Bhutto had done, nobody is doing now. Bhutto had changed the idiom of politics. Bhutto had created an awakening, had given a sense of strength to the common person.
Objective, whether you agree with
Whether,
them, irrelevant.
Later what happened is,
Whether you are irrelevant.
it was a revolutionary change in Pakistan's politics, 68, 69.
That's nostalgia.
Yes.
Don't show your age. Don't show your age, Firdaus.
The question is,
You're PTI, you're supposed to be young.
Anyway, don't want to comment on that, but going to the issue.
Yes.
Let me try to, first and foremost, we have tried to set up the national agenda in many ways. For example, when we talked about the anti-corruption platform, we first and foremost said, declare your assets. And the party, with its entire leadership, declared its assets on the website. They're even available today. No party followed suit. When we said no democracy will come into this country unless and until the political parties themselves become democratic. We did that ourselves and under a very difficult time. Actually, we finished the election of the chairman on 22nd of March. We went as late as that. It took us more than 12 months and a lot of crisis. It was not an easy task. Why did the other parties which have been existing in the country for such a long time wait for it? As called out earlier by another participant, let's look at the leadership. It's a politics of, it's actually monarchy. It's not democratic. And in the garb of monarchy, democracy, there is a revenge being taken on democracy. That's what it is. We have talked about setting national agenda in many other forms. We say good governance is the main problem which the country is faced with. There is no transparency. We have talked about transparency. We have talked about...
You have done all this.
Let me complete. We have talked about bringing simplicity in the government. We as a poor nation cannot afford the luxurious prime minister houses and the presidencies which we have. And we have spoken against them. We have talked about bringing new...
I'm aching to say this. I've never known a government who hasn't promised to turn the Prime Minister house into a yatim khana and the President house into a college.
Okay, I
they keep on doing
going all the way back to
you see, are you only talking about Pakistani government or are you talking about
Pakistani?
Okay.
The Prime Minister house hasn't made yatim khana about 10 times?
Yes.
Okay. No, let's wait. There was a Prime Minister of Pakistan who put this promise to put the journal in a Suzuki. He did. Mr. Mohammad Khan Janejo.
He also sold all the cars. He sold all the cars.
So that's happened. But now they sold all the cars and they bought bulletproof cars.
Yeah, but that means nothing.
No, it's very symbolic. It's very important. Look at the Prime Minister of Britain traveling in first class and staying at the house of an ambassador. Does it make any difference to the British exchequer? No. But it's very important symbolically. He's saying Britain is undergoing hard times. So, do not underplay the importance
the German Chancellor lives in a flat and makes her own coffee.
Yes.
That's a German Chancellor.
Not in one of the best houses in this country.
The Iranian president lives in a flat and he sleeps on the floor. eats on the floor.
The German chancellor lives in a flat.
And he lives in but all our leaders, including yours, sir, have a rather lavish lifestyle.
You see, we have
No, I have other problems.
Simplicity comes from somewhere else. This is showmanship.
Yeah.
No,
my problem with the party. I have only one question.
Ji,
One question. Does your party believe in liberal and secular values?
I don't think so. Secular, liberal, yes.
Why not secular?
Because, as you very stated, I am proud to be a Muslim.
Yes.
This country
So
was
are we
created
all?
the country was created in the name of Islam.
Let me quote Erdogan, the Turkish Prime Minister.
Let me please
He said,
complete.
an
You asked me a question,
individual-
let me please complete.
No.
Let me please complete.
Okay.
You see, we are talking about that our role model, as far as value systems are concerned, not other things, value system, is Riyasat-e-Madina. Riyasat-e-Madina, the Muslims were ruling, and there were Jews there, there were infidels there were people who did not believe in God, and they were
So you are closer to Jamaat-e-Islami than...
peacefully coexist. No, we have no issue.
There is the double.
We are, no, it's
There
not a
is
double
the
thing.
double. Let's take his comment.
It is a double thing in many places, because we see that many of the people believe that to be secular is important. No, to be a good Muslim is important. Because a good Muslim, because what...
But who's arguing that? No one on earth can argue that.
I was trying to quote Erdogan.
But no one can argue, but we all good Muslims, alhamdulillah. But the point here is...
No, we are not. Sorry. We say we are good Muslims.
I'm sure you know about yourself, but I'm alright.
No, we say.
I'm sure you know about yourself, but I'm doing okay. My point here is, it is not the state's responsibility.
The society
But hear me. It is not the state's job to shove a gun in my throat and say I have to do something.
I'm not
That's
saying that.
secularism.
No, sorry.
It's not the state's job.
The state's
My
job
state
is
is my
not
problem.
to force people to become Muslims.
But then it's secular.
But the state's job
But that's what secular is.
No, it says...
Am I wrong, Mr. Sabi?
No, you're very right. In fact, Erdogan said Turkey is a secular country and Erdogan's party is an Islamist party.
Very strong Islamic.
Islamist. And he said that an individual should be religious, but the state should be secular. You have not thought that out.
No, we have. Like Rafiddin. Like Rafiddin, we believe in it. But the question is that when you are saying...
Okay, and this is very crucial. Abid, what's your comment in this? Because I know how you feel about secularism and forced religion.
I think, most of the parties are scared of using this word secularism because our Urdu press for last 65 years has been translating it as incorrectly as Ladiniyat.
Exactly.
So,
secularism is just that the state does not force me to do anything.
Our political parties do not have the courage to say this, that the state will be secular. That when you appoint people on top slots, or for that matter any slot, including sensitive slots like the armed forces, the non-Muslims will have equal chance if they are competent. So they are very scared of using this word secular because the Urdu press will play hell with them that they are talking about Ladiniyat. Secularism is not Ladiniyat. It only means that at certain levels, state will not consider religion as an important factor.
Okay, I'm very short on time, but Abid, I'd like to interject here. Even the United States of America, who claims to be completely secular, even they have an underhand, unwritten, untalked about principle where I don't think they would have a Muslim president or a Secretary of State. So, fine, the majority does determine, but the state should not have the right to shove a gun down my throat for my religion.
No, absolutely, I agree with you.
But you said
look.
Abid, I need to wind up. So I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
You said no political party has the courage to say what is real, but you agree that PTI also is shying away from this
Yes,
claim.
PTI is also shying away from this.
Mr. Salahuddin.
I think the definition of what is secular was given by Jinnah in his August 11 speech. Simply he said, religion is not the business of the state. Simple.
And that's it.
That's it.
And that really is it. Miza, very quick closing comment. I have like 1 minute.
I would like to ask...
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you.
Just one question. Do our laws of the country, should they be in conjunction with the Islamic laws or not? And when is making laws a part of the state?
Religion in Pakistan has divided society. You don't understand?
No, I am.
But make
but
Islamic
I am
laws.
telling you
Of
what's wrong
religion.
with Islamic laws. But then when you have Islamic laws in a state, then how can you call that state secular?
Of course you can.
No, sorry.
You
I
make your
disagree
laws
with
by
that,
the
but-
tenets of
but
Islam.
No.
But these
you-
are the
you are-
issues that have to be
Because
debated.
when you make your laws subservient
These
to the
have-
Sharia,
but
then
these-
there is a problem. There only. You cannot then
So-
term it secular.
So PTI would go with that route.
We are saying that we believe that the Islamic laws, as interpreted correctly and during the Riyasat-e-Madina, we will follow them.
Fine.
No
I've
issue.
sadly run out of time. This is a topic which definitely needs more time. Maybe with the same participants tomorrow. Thank you very much, all of you. Good night.